All right, we should be live now. Check. Yeah, we should be okay. It's a little late. Here's the pullback I was talking about like an hour ago when it was pushing highs but no volume. You're back below that 4,600. When you're pushing the second deviation of EWAP, you need decent volume to keep you going higher, and there was pretty much no volume. The volume is actually coming in on the sell side here. That is your first sell signal of the day on the live hours. That was also a pretty big bear div on the 3-minute, which caused that top. We had 3 take profit signals on the bot, outside of VWAP, resistance on the bot, and then we had the bear div. Car Guru still looks pretty good, climbing on the day, up about 5%. Uber's pulling back a little bit, so is Altria. I saw that earlier. Altria breaking VWAP. Bitcoin and Ethereum were actually green earlier, not too long ago. Back to being red now. Facebook putting in a new high. 3-hour buy signal coming in, or sorry, 3-minute buy signal. A little far off VWAP though, so this wouldn't be a part of the strategy. Wouldn't be too bad of a buy, but a little extended. Amazon pulled back pretty hard. Had a nice little run this morning. Hey Vicky, what's going on? Airbnb up 8.5 or 8, almost 9% actually. Looks like it's about to break this high as well. Yeah, look at that daily candle on Airbnb. What a candle. It's engulfing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8 days. Beautiful candle. Is that off a moving average? Oh, it's off the VWAPs actually. If you take the anchored VWAP from the all-time high and the anchored VWAP from the IPO, that is exactly what we're bouncing off of. Very clean. It's also the 200 EMA, but it's a little sloppy. These gaps have been filled. Can I show you guys how I'm using the ADMA with the strategy? It's actually a good question. Somebody asked me that same exact question in Discord, and I should have clarified. But the ADMA is not really a important part of the strategy. The only time you would use it is something like this. So when you have a buy signal coming in on the strategy, you're breaking the VWAP, and let's say you take this as an entry, and you start to see a massive impulse. Once it starts to impulse very strongly in one direction, that's when you can use the ADMA to kind of figure out when that impulse is losing strength. Because once it starts to lose the ADMA, it starts to weaken. So it's only really used during major impulses and if you're looking to exit your trade. Besides that, it's not helpful in any way. It's not going to help you because the buy signals are almost always going to be above the ADMA because it has to have some kind of strength to give you the buy signal, right? So in all other regards, it's kind of useless. And then as far as the other things that I mentioned in the strategy, the supplemental part pretty much everything in that supplemental part of the strategy, it's all just used to like exit your trades or help you find exits. Like the bear divs on the RSI or the Momo, depending on which one you're using. Kind of a good example would have been on ES today. So like if you took this buy signal when we were bouncing off VWAP, it never really gave you a sell. But once you got up to here, you're very extended on VWAP, so you would have been looking to exit, and then you have that bear div on ES, so that could have helped you exit as well. And then if you would have used the ADMA, you can see once we started to kind of curl the ADMA here, that was also a sign to exit. And then if you're using the Kijun line, that also could have helped you exit once you lost the baseline. So pretty much everything in the supplemental section is just going over things you can use to exit your trade. Hey, OP, Agars, what's going on, guys? I may or may not have been looking at Christmas timers. That's why I was late to stream. I didn't realize it was past 3 o'clock. I was trying to find some of those smart plugs for my Christmas lights. You said you got phenomenal entries, but you didn't know when to exit. Yeah, so you can use the take profit signals on the bot to exit if they're decently in profit. Like if you're ready to exit the trade and it's showing take profit, it's going to show you the take profits when it's finding resistance. The take profits on the lower time frames are not going to be as good as the higher time frames, obviously. When you have take profit signals on like a daily or a weekly, those can very easily turn into tops or bottoms. Not so much on the low time frames. But if you are looking to exit your trade and you're really itching for the close, those take profit signals can give you points of resistance or support that you can exit on. But yeah, if you throw in the ADMA, if you throw in the Ichimoku baseline, depending on how quick you want to exit, like the ADMA will be a lot faster, obviously. The baseline is going to be a little more delayed. But both of those should help you exit the trade. Or you can just wait for the bot to give you a sell signal, which will be delayed as well, because it's going to try to keep you in the signal as long as possible. Facebook going for that breakout. Hey, Jacob. Michael, you said, how does Zoom look to me? I personally don't like Zoom very much. I think all of those stocks that were exploding rapidly during COVID, they were very overpriced, and Zoom is feeling the pain of that. It was not worth $572 a share. That was mainly volatility being priced in. Intrinsic value for this thing is definitely not in the $500 per share area. Could you scalp this for maybe a bounce play? Yes, it's probably a little extended. You probably could get back to 200, maybe 220. But I don't think this thing is worth what it's being priced at. Maybe around 160 would be a good value for it. 160, maybe 120. If we come back down to test this area and it starts to find a lot of buyers and then starts to push into 200, then yes, maybe it's worth 200. But blowing through this entire area here without even giving it any kind of test, it's clearly not worth $500 to $600 a share. So where's VWAP here, or volume profile? Let's see. Like if you look at the volume profile, look at where most of the value is. Most of the value is around 150, 110, and then 67. So once you put in these like really big nodes, then you start to push up. When you put in really big nodes again, it's kind of showing you that it is actually worth these higher values. But then when you start to go higher, these nodes get smaller and smaller, right? So, excuse me, you're not really finding a whole lot of value up here. It does seem to have a lot of value around 250, but it seems like the sellers are completely in control of that level. So if the buyers can reclaim 250, then maybe you can say that Zoom is worth 250, but as of right now, it seems like most of their value is around 160, and then maybe even like 120. I think they're very extended on the Wick Sniper. Let's see. No, it's actually not. So this is actually a healthy move on the weekly. Little extended on the daily. Healthy move on the monthly. So yeah, based on volatility, it's actually healthy down here. Like it can stay down here. Do you enter as soon as the buyer sell signal pops up, or do you wait for the close? You want to wait for the close typically. And obviously you want to wait for the VWAP support. So if for example, like the sell signal came in here, that's not a part of our strategy because it's not breaking VWAP. So once it starts breaking VWAP, then that is an actual sell signal. So like you would have ignored that sell signal, you would have ignored that one. These buys are a part of the strategy. I didn't like the daily on Apple SR. The daily was looking a little ugly. Is it looking better now? Let's see. No, it's still pretty ugly. Yeah, it's a really bad daily. If it closes higher and cleans up this daily candle, it won't look too bad, but as of right now, that daily's pretty weak. Yeah, no problem, Michael. So far, all three of these past daily candles on Bitcoin have not been able to close below the VWAP from, is that the all-time high or the old all-time high? Yeah, the old all-time high. You can see all three of these wicks are closing above the anchor VWAP. Jacob, we are definitely not in a bear market on equities. We are entering a downtrend, like a short-term downtrend, but we're not in a bear market. You could argue that we're in a bear market in crypto because this downtrend has been sustained for so long and we are down 30% from the highs, 40% from the highs. But you cannot say that we're in a bear market on equities. I think this is just a short-term pullback. We haven't even lost the 50-day yet, you know what I mean? So yes, it's a pullback. Yes, it's ugly, but we are still very bullish. What are we down on the highs on ES? Like what, 10%? So yeah, right now we're only down 3, but oh, it's only 5. Okay, so I was way off. So this is only a 5% pullback on equities. So nowhere near a bear market. You can see on COVID didn't start to get scary until you broke the 200, which was about a 10% pullback from the highs. That's when COVID started to get really scary. And then it dropped all the way down 36%. No, the dead cat bounce has not been invalidated. The dead cat bounce would have to break. The original dead cat ended up putting in a leg down. So this was a dead cat, which put in a leg down. For us to recover the first dead cat, it would have to get back above 4665. For the secondary dead cat, I had that one over here. We're literally on the 618 right now, to the tick. So if we can close above the 618, then this starts to look like an actual bounce and not a dead cat. So if we can push like maybe 10 more points here, it doesn't look too bad. How do I think inflation will affect the market? Do I think the Fed will handle it? So I don't like speculating on like what inflation is going to do to the market because it all depends on what the Fed does. You pay more attention to the Fed than you do to inflation because inflation by itself is not a massive problem. But the way the Fed reacts to inflation is a massive problem. If the Fed starts raising rates constantly while we're tapering, then that's obviously going to send the market down. They're already talking about accelerating the taper, which is that's also bearish. So you have to look out for like those headlines. Don't worry about inflation by itself. Yes, it's bad. Doesn't really matter. It does matter, but not as much. The headlines you want to pay attention to is what is the Fed doing about inflation? Are they raising rates? Are they accelerating the taper? Hagar said a lot of stocks in the NASDAQ are making new lows. Large companies are propping up the indexes. My scanners have been doing fairly well today. So we are getting a decent amount of highs on the overall market. But yeah, definitely big tech bouncing 3%, 2% is helping for sure. I think we're only in for like a lot of trouble with equities, with inflation, if the Fed starts raising rates way quicker than they said they were going to. If they start raising the rates and the taper already sucks, so it doesn't really matter what they do with the taper. The taper's already kind of fucking us. But if they accelerate the taper, that would obviously not help. But most of the rates are still at 0 right now, or near 0. This is that pullback that we were worried about this around lunchtime today because momentum was weak, volume was weak, and we were trying to push the second deviation of VWAP. You cannot push these deviations unless you have a lot of VWAP, or a lot of volume, excuse me. What would make them accelerate the taper? A bunch of really good economic reports, which we have not been seeing, obviously. The job numbers that came out were abysmal. If they feel like the economy is doing very well based on the reports, then they can accelerate the taper. But thanks to Biden, the economy has not been doing very well. The jobs report was abysmal, so they started talking about how they might have to push back the acceleration. If the next couple of jobs reports come out and they're very good, and maybe our GDP numbers that come out are very good, and then our unemployment numbers that come out are very good, if like all three of those things are good, then they'll probably accelerate the taper. I talked about this in our morning call. It's very shocking, not today, but last week. It's very shocking how our equities market is in a bubble right now. Like the bubble is not with like tech companies and shit that people keep saying it is. The bubble is with the Fed pumping money into the market, right? But they want our economy to do bad to continue to pump money into the market. So the economy is, or the market is stuck. Because if we have good economic numbers that come out, it actually makes the market go down because that means the Fed will accelerate the taper. And then if we have bad economic numbers that come out, it makes the market go up because it means that the Fed will keep pumping the market. Like that's where we're stuck. Now that nasty sell-off that we saw, was it Friday? Yeah, Friday. This is how the market should have reacted to the bad job numbers. So the market actually did a very good job. It faked you out in the morning and went for that little pump, but then it nuked because the job numbers were like 50% of what was expected. But the reason this trap was so good was we've seen the last few times that we've had bad economic numbers, the market actually went up because that means that the Fed's not going to push their taper. So when it started to push in the morning, everyone was like, oh, this is normal. Bad economic numbers make the market go up, but then they faked you out and they nuked it. So this was actually a very good reaction to the bad numbers. But then it acted like it never even happened. We already made a new high. Bitcoin had a pretty decent day so far. It's a very nice hammer candle. Same as yesterday with the doji. You're holding on to the anchored VWAP, holding on to our Fibonacci support down here. I think as long as you hold on to these Fibonacci numbers, you should be okay. 476, 457. Get back above the 50,200, maybe retest the pivot around 52.7. This is like the first dollar cost average area, right? All of these supports that are lining up. This is a dollar cost average area. And then we have another one down here during the accumulation. Look at how extended we are from the OTS trail too. 15%. If you take the wick, 35%. So it's definitely extended. It definitely wants to find some type of buy pressure. It all came down to that pivot, man. We talked about that pivot multiple times on stream. You just were not able to stay above that pivot at 58.1. Failed it, failed it, failed it. This actually created a fractal too. So a fractal would be like a high and then low, 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 low. So we have the high here, low, 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 low. So beautiful bearish fractal off that pivot. Ethereum's actually not looking too bad either, holding on to those pivots. Around 39.42, 4,000. You bounced off that daily pivot. If you guys bought that daily pivot on the, or I think that was a weekly pivot. Yeah, weekly. If you bought the weekly pivot, you damn near bought the bottom around 35.76. It front ran the 200 EMA by like what, $100. But we're already back above the pivots, so this looks like just a nasty little liquidation grab. Every single wick below these pivots has been bought up. So very clear support around 4,000. Right now, Ethereum is very bullish, maintaining the second deviation of VWAP. Bitcoin kind of, but pulling back a little bit. Oil's having a really nice day. It's up 5.25 almost. Some institutions sold 500 million worth of Bitcoin. That's honestly not that much, to be honest. Bitcoin does massive numbers on volume. The 500 million, it's pretty good, but I don't know if it could lead to that entire sell-off. Maybe it was like the first order that kind of cascaded the sell-off. What that really was just a standard liquidation sell-off where you had, let me pull it up. You had all of these longers just longing the shit out of every single dip. And look at their support. They have no support below them. So they knew that if they could just push it below this pivot, push it below the anchored VWAP, they're done. They're just going to get licked. It's going to be a cascading failure all the way down. These longs got wrecked, these got wrecked, these got wrecked, these got wrecked. Basically every single low. Even people that were like holding from back here that maybe added on over here, they got wrecked.
Yo, JMA, you there? Deja, what's the price of SPXL that you see?
Sorry, there's a loud ass car going by. What'd you say?
What's the price of SPXL that you see?
Let's see. 128.95.
Okay, cool. JMA had me all fucked up. He put it at 36.25.
Oh yeah. Bitcoin bounced exactly at the 666 retracement from the low to the all-time high. That's funny. What do you mean, like this? No, that would be this one maybe, right? Not exactly, but yeah, it did. My Bitcoin chart's getting a little messy, but all those levels are important, so we're keeping an eye on them. We don't see this very often, but the index that was leading today was Dow Jones. It was up pretty strong this morning, didn't really have the dip that the other indexes had. If you look at the 200 EMAs too, which kind of determines where your trend is, Dow Jones actually popped above its 200 here, kind of failing it now. But IWM not even close. Q's not even close. SPY pretty close, but not breaking it. So it looks like Dow Jones could be the first one to flip this downtrend. The sell-off is not over until SPY reclaims its 200 on the 30-minute. You can see once we reclaim the 200, and it starts to flip back into being positive, we see these very long trends.
Sorry.
Siri, stop listening to me. Sticky, do you have places for your cats to sit like around your desk?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. I was wondering if it's like a bad idea to get them acclimated to being around my desk. But they're 5 years old. They probably shouldn't be chewing on my wires, right?
If they're bored and stressed out, they might.
That's nice. But yeah, I've got a window to my right, and I bought a little raised bed that they can sit on the bed and look out the window. And then I bought like 2 little enclosed beds to put in my office as well. But I'm only gonna let them in here if I'm in here. I'm gonna because I've got doors. I'm just gonna close it if I'm not in here. I use Tastyworks mainly for my broker, and I also have an account with TD Ameritrade. Sadly, neither one of those brokers are tied into TradingView. It would be really nice if they were. But yeah, I think if you're trying to start out into stock trading or options trading, I think TD Ameritrade is a really good place to start. Get familiar with kind of the more advanced UI and terminal right away. If you really want to have it dumbed down for you, you can start with Robinhood. But I think getting started just immediately and learning the more advanced UI is going to be better for you. But if it's too confusing, Robinhood is always an easy option. And I will give it to Robinhood. Still to this day, they have the best mobile app for trading. Their UI is the cleanest. They're the most responsive. It's very easy to find things. It's extremely simple. But they also have a lot of outages. They go out a lot. They have they delist a lot of things where you can't trade them.
Bro, Uber's up like 10%.
What is?
Uber?
Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, I bought it when it was up like 4 or 5%. This is like a monthly setup though. Like if this monthly setup plays out, it's going to go straight to 50 or 60 for the next few months. You're sitting on massive monthly support around like 36 to 35. It is high risk though. If you lose this support, it's going to get wrecked.
Yeah, I'll probably put like 2% in my portfolio.
Yeah, it's good to have a little bit. The monthly level is 36.77. As long as we hold above that, it looks pretty good. Yeah, Sean, I talked about level 2 a lot. I don't know if I have. Actually, I don't have it on stocks, but my order flow videos on crypto, that is level 2 trading, like reading the DOM and looking at the time and sales and stuff like that. It's the same thing. So that like order flow series that I did, those, I think it was like 4 or 5 videos, that's the same thing as level 2. It's just doing it on Bitcoin, not on stocks. Weeble's better. Weeble's not bad. Weeble has gotten a lot better, I'll say that. Weeble is a very good medium from Robinhood to TD Ameritrade. Like Robinhood is like super beginner friendly. TD Ameritrade is more of an advanced. Weeble is a good mix. Tastyworks should be available to you, I believe. I don't know about Germany, but I know we have some British users that use Tastyworks. But yeah, I don't know international brokers, so you're on your own on that one. And I appreciate your comments about my content. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy it. Put a lot of hours into it. Hey, the late adopter, what's going on, man? I think equities are still fairly safe, adopter. We are entering a little bit of a choppy territory, but I don't think you could say we're in a bear market right now. I think we're still just in a small pullback. If we start losing the 50-day and losing the like 4,500 support on ES, then it starts to get a little hairy. Might enter a short-term bear market, but we're not there yet. I think a lot of people are panicking. For Bitcoin, you could say we're in a bear market. We're down almost 40% from the highs on that sell-off. Yeah, 40% from the highs. So you could easily say we're in a bear market in crypto. But we're sitting on a lot of support. So now is not the time to short. Shorting would have been from 58, maybe 60 66 if you're lucky. You can't short at 49. So even if this is an extended bear market, it's already down 40% from the highs. How much more are you going to short out of it? You know what I mean? So in this territory, you're sitting back and you're looking to buy the dip and dollar cost average and fill your bags up with coins that you think are going to recover very well during the next recovery bull market. Funny enough, a lot of the coins that are really good, they didn't really suffer very much. Like, how's Solana doing? Solana barely pulled back. How's FTT doing? FTT pulled back a little bit, so that's one to keep an eye on. How's Ray doing? Yeah, Ray pulled back a little bit. Ray is sitting on a massive daily pivot here. Yeah, you want to look for coins that have a lot of value. They have a really good use case that have pulled back a decent amount from their highs. Mana's one to keep an eye on here, holding that daily pivot, holding the 50-day as well. Yeah, Interactive Brokers, I believe, is pretty big in Europe. You can check them out. I think the only downside to Interactive Brokers is they have higher fees than most people. I think they've gotten better with their fees, though. Back in the day, their fees were pretty bad. So Shiba, yeah, exactly. Shiba has a ton of value. You know, the coins that have a future, like Shiba and Doge and Link. VeChain. What were some of those other dog shit coins back in the day? IOTA. Incash.
Dragon Chain.
Yeah, Dragon Chain. Don't mention that if Kitoy's in here. He'll have a fucking heart attack. They're backed by Disney, dude. They're coming back.
That was the way back then. If you interned at Google and then you made a token, you're ex-Google dev.
Yeah, you're backed by Google. No, they won't even say it properly. They won't even say they're ex-Google. They would just say backed by Google. That's what the fucking Dragon Chain thing did. It was made by like an intern of Disney. And they said they had a Disney partnership. The guy was like a janitor at their theme park. And he's fucking partnered by Disney.
Deja, the screenshot I sent you from my portfolio, what would you diversify with and how much cash would you be holding?
You're pretty much all tech, so you want to get boomer names like Costco, Waste Management, Johnson & Johnson, Ford. Like, think of shit your fucking grandpa would have. Because you're in heavy growth. And all the analysts are telling their investors to flee growth and go into value. The problem with boomer names is a lot of them are pretty fucking high right now. The boomer names have been doing very well. How's Pepsi been doing? Pepsi actually doesn't look too bad on the 15. Oh, it's ripping. All-time high. Yeah, these boomer names are... They're slaying.
Costco has a decent pullback.
I don't even want to look at Costco. I had the best buy on this thing. And I sold way too early. We bought this thing at 380. Thing went to 560. Jesus.
Okay, I'm not touching Costco.
Yeah, it's gross. Costco like never goes down though. Like look at the monthly chart.
Yeah.
It's also extremely extended though. The problem is you only get major pullbacks on Costco when like you literally have a fucking recession and every single company on the entire market is going down. That's the only way to make Costco go down. It didn't even react to COVID. It had like the smallest COVID drop ever. It reacted in 08 because the entire market was crashing. Johnson & Johnson was a good one to invest in until the whole vaccine bullshit. Now it's a little riskier, but they still look pretty decent.
Would you touch any of the ARC stuff?
I'm not a big fan of the ARCs, to be honest. And you don't need ARCs in the portfolio that you sent me. You're already so heavy in growth. ARCs are good to have. Like if you have a bunch of fucking boomer names in your portfolio, like the ones we were just talking about, and then you need some growth exposure, then you just buy the ARCs. The ARCs are running into the problem that we talked about back in like mid 2020, where they were going up mainly because they were getting massive inflows to their ETFs. It wasn't actually because the stocks were doing very well. Her stocks were doing good, but not to the point where her ETF should be going up that much. It was mainly just a fucking buying frenzy. And now the frenzy's over. No one even talks about her anymore. One that's good to have if they start nuking and you can get them for cheap is Shopify. Shopify's a big boy.
Retirement account, Shopify is my best performer.
Yeah, it's literally the best performing stock in the past 10 years. The thing IPO'd at fucking, what? $28.
Yes.
$28 in 2015. 6 years. It went from 28 to nearly 1,800.
Yeah, the portfolio I sent you is only for like the next year, maybe 2 max. So.
Yeah. I don't know. If I was in your shoes, I don't even know if I'd invest it, to be honest. You said it's like your down payment fund, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
Well, fuck, if I invested it a month ago, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you're investing at a good point if this is all bullshit fear and it's not real. But if the Fed is going to raise rates and they start accelerating the taper, there's nothing that's going to keep the market up. You're also going into
silver, right?
Yeah, I would save some money for January, February. We're probably going to see a nice little nuke in January, February. Because the hedge funds are already fucking liquidating at like astronomical rates. So as soon as the new year hits, and they typically start liquidating January, February. That's why February is the worst month of the year. We should see some dips. Hey, doctor, did you mean the bot? Are you saying the bot's working amazing? Here comes the close. There it is. I'm glad you like it, man. What have you been using the bot on? You trading crypto, equities? Are you using the new VWAP strategy that we've been talking about? Or are you using something just like the normal bot? Little pullback on Altria. Uber closed really strong. Uranium not too bad. Wolf closed good. PayPal closed pretty good. Coinbase made up a lot of the losses on today. You're using it on the German DAX. Are you the one that I was talking to on TradingView? Thoughts on PLTR? I think it's a really good company, but for some reason the chart does not agree. I think their business model is very good. I think they have a lot of potential. They've got a lot of government contracts. They're doing everything they need to be doing, I think. But the chart just does not agree. I think if it were to come down to around $15, I think you could sell a shit ton of puts, cash covered, buy a bunch of shares, hold on to it for the next 3 to 5 years, and I'm pretty sure you would make a killing. But it seems like it's going to be a dinosaur, like super slow moving company. So I would not be expecting like a massive explosion to like 50, because the way that it's been trading the past year, it seems like it's going to be a dinosaur. It's going to be really slow. But I'm ready, man. I want to sell some puts. If it comes down to like 17, 15, I'll probably sell some cash covered puts. Look at their earnings. They've been slaying earnings, every single one. It's like every day they fucking announce a new government contract. Yeah, doctor, I remember you, man. We were chatting on TradingView. I'm glad it's working out for you. But all right, guys, I'm gonna call it. Appreciate you guys being here as always. I will be streaming tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. If you guys want to stop by for the morning call, if you guys are in Discord or you're one of our new YouTube members, it will be at 9 a.m. in the morning. They usually go for about 30 minutes until they open, and then we're going to do our standard stream in Discord. So I'll see you guys then. If you guys are not in Discord, I'll catch you guys at 3 p.m. Eastern. See you tomorrow. Peace.